What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? We are back, you guys. It's been a few days since we did some reviews. I don't have a Saturday night show right now. So, Real Housewives of Potomac season 4, episode 14. This episode, I feel like it was a filler, building us up to maybe the last big blow up before the end of the season, but we're going to get to it. We start off with the conclusion of Ashley going to visit her father. Now, let me say this. For as much as Ashley irritates my nerves, and she does, I really felt for her in this moment. She knocked on the door, he opened the door, she introduced herself, he acknowledged the sister, she introduced herself. He very abruptly closed the door in their face and locked it and refused to open the door back up. The uncle, and again, you guys, I'm listening to what's being said, right? The uncle said, let's get out of here before he spazzes out or go whatever. I feel like, first of all, let me say this to Ashley's father. I hope somebody shows you this, and I hope you feel like the piece of shit that you are. Now, with that being said, all of the warning signs were there for you to leave this man alone. But I get it because I cannot imagine being rejected by a parent. I don't have that experience, so I can't imagine it. I understand her need for that. I understand her need for that closure. And something that Robyn says to her later on in the episode when she tells Robyn about it, and she said something about wanting closure. Robyn said, "Well, you have closure." She said, it may not have been the way you wanted it. It may not have ended the way you wanted it, but you have closure, and you do. It's unfortunate. I feel for you. I really do feel for you in this moment, Ashley. But this man has made it very clear that he has no interest in having a relationship with you. At every, he's rejected you technically 3 times at this point because he rejected you when he left you. Then you reached out to him on Facebook. He rejected you again, and so now it's the third time. So 3 strikes you're out. At this point, it's his loss. You know, is what it is. So I feel for her, and so that was a moment. That was a moment. Okay. All right. Um, we have this dumb scene with Robyn and Giselle. Robyn deciding that she wants to be a truck driver, talking about something with all of the trucks that have been coming in and out with her renovating this house. Oh, excuse me, y'all. I don't know why I always yawn when I get on camera. Um, now that she's got this desire to be a truck, it's stupid. It was a whole stupid scene. Robyn ends up driving sorry, not the car, the truck around the parking lot, blowing the horn and all that. It was dumb. It really was. But ultimately, in this scene, we find out that Robyn is having her open house. That the house is finally done. It's been staged. It's ready to go. And of course, she's inviting the girls to come, the ladies to come to the open house. And basically what she does is ask Giselle, they get the whole talking about the whole Monique thing again or whatever, and how Monique, the comments that got back to them about Monique saying that they never did like her, whatever, which of course is not what Monique said, but we'll get to what Monique said versus what they heard Monique say in a moment. Um, and basically Robyn was like, well, can you just not do it at my event? Which of course was translated to, please do it at my event. Anyway. We see a scene with Karen and her sister. And again, this was another heartfelt scene where her and the sister are going to golly, y'all. Sorry. Going to visit the gravesite of her parents. Um and sort of have sort of a ceremony there. They released balloons and they read scripture and they played the song that Raven, the Amazing Grace track that Raven did with Macy Gray, and they just had a moment. They had a moment, and Karen talked about the fact that her sister basically put her life on hold to be the caretaker, and anybody who becomes a caretaker for their parents or members of the family, it is hard. It is always hard. Um, I know when my grandmother got sick, my mom and her 2 sisters did it, and I mean, it was a lot. The children of the grandkids helped out as much as we could, but it was a lot to do, and I've seen it happen a few other times in my family. So Karen said that basically her sister did that so that Karen could continue to do the things she was doing, and that you know At one point, they were having a conversation about a car. I don't know if Karen gonna buy her a car or that's what the situation was. I'm not gonna lie, y'all kind of blanked out because but it was a moment. And again, it's just another part of the process that Karen is going through to grieve um her parents' death. Again, don't want to put myself in Karen's shoes because I cannot imagine losing both my parents within months of each other. Or a year within a year of each other. I just can't. Don't want to imagine it. Can't imagine it. So again, it is a process that won't go away overnight, but it does seem like through this season, Karen is better. I don't know if Karen pulled a Nene on us and said she was only going to film with certain people or she was only going to do a certain amount of scenes because we're seeing a whole lot of scenes with Karen and her family and not with the girls. So I don't know if because of her grieving this went down that way or if um Karen was like, I just can't do it. I can't do these girls this season because she's been in the episodes, but she has not been with the ladies a lot in these episodes. And I'm just wondering if there was something with that. But I'm sure we'll hear about it at the reunion or on the blogs or something if there's more to it. Then we have this again, another filler scene. We see Monique with Chris and the kids learning baby CPR. Now, look, is it something that they need to know? Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Is it something that them kids could care less about? Sure, they could. They could care less. And they prove it. Once again, they are climbing all over Chris, the little boy asking for another popsicle. I mean, and again, I really feel like that's something that her and Chris could have done, and the kids could have been with the nanny. Because God forbid something really does happen with the baby. Them kids ain't paying attention enough, nor are they really old enough to do CPR or anything like that. Like, but again, it was a scene. It was a scene. Um, but again, it is needed. Don't get me wrong. I don't know why Monique waited to the third baby, but it's needed. And maybe she didn't. Maybe again, it's just a scene that maybe they did have baby CPR before. So anyway, then we had the three amigos. Okay, we have Candace, we have her mom, and we have her sister. And they got on matching furs. Okay, they are dressed alike. They done went down to the vineyard. Okay, and they proceed to have a conversation where they're sort of rehashing the whole therapy piece. And her mama then said, look, I don't need the therapy. Candace needs therapy. She said, look, I've been there and I've done that. Y'all are the ones that are still learning. Y'all are the babies. I'm the adult. I don't need this. Candace needs the therapy. Candace is the brat. I'm good. I don't think it's gonna change. Like Dorothy is who she is. Dorothy feels the way she feels. Um, And I think Candace is just a miniature Dorothy. I think when she's Dorothy's age, she's gonna be Dorothy. She's gonna have the same attitude, she's gonna have the same mindset because they just, you know. And the sister was like, in a nice way, trying to let her mama know, nah, you need some therapy too. Like, and I mean, like even something simple like Candace said she ripped her pants or whatever. Her mother, she was like, yeah, I'm getting a little thick. Her mother was like, you're gaining weight. And the sister said, no, she's getting thick. You don't have to say it that way. Like, it's the way you say stuff. She's getting thick. She's not. So then Monique. Candace goes on to talk about the situation that came back to her about Monique with the text messages. And her mother actually gave her some good advice. Her mother said, look, you need to talk to Monique. It's a friendship worth salvaging. You guys are good friends. Y'all have a good situation. Just go and talk to her. It's no need. Don't drag it out. Don't turn it into more than it is. Go have a conversation with Monique. Which of course is probably the best advice I've ever heard Dorothy give. Of course, Candace ain't gonna do that, but it was good advice. It was good advice. So there's that. So then we see Karen meeting up with a friend of hers, and they're talking about La Dame, the fragrance, and she's got the perfume bottle, and she's saying, look, when you're trying to do something really important with your life, you want people who love you and who are rooting for you. And of course, they flash back to her and Giselle. And so she said everything is going on and the fragrance will be out soon, which of course we know. I think the fragrance is launched I think it has already launched. So good for you, Karen. Good for you. Um, then we see Ashley and Michael. Did y'all find that scene a little weird? Because Ashley was like, "You want some coffee?" And he was like, "I don't drink coffee in the afternoon." Like, shouldn't you know that? You know what I mean? Like, y'all been married for how long, and you don't know that your husband. She was like, "Well, I mean, I didn't know if you needed a little pick me up." He was like, "Yeah, but it's the afternoon. I don't drink coffee in the afternoon." Like, duh. I don't know. I just thought that was a little weird. I don't know. It just seemed weird. But neither here nor there. The conversation was basically about Ashley telling her what happened with her dad. And she said, Michael was against this because of his situation with his dad. But he also unfortunately understands because he was rejected by his father. So, and Michael's sitting there like, I told your ass not to go down there. I knew what was gonna happen. I just feel like it's more to this story with Ashley's dad. I don't know if he got some PTSD. I don't know if he has a drug issue. I don't know what. I don't know if it's a color issue. I don't know what it is, but it is more to this story than just what we are seeing as far as her being rejected by her dad. I just feel like it's more to it. Unfortunately, it's the sins of the mother is still falling down on Ashley, and it shouldn't. But I just feel like it's just way more to this story. Anyway, um, so there was that, y'all. Again, it was a lot of filler scenes, I feel like. So last but not least, Robyn is ready for the housewarming, and they have done a beautiful job with the house. The staging is beautiful. They, of course, they give you the before and the after, and you saw how horrible that house was, and how we saw it last season. We saw what happened, what that house looked like last season, and they definitely did a great job with it. Something that she thought was going to take 6 weeks took 8 months, but that is life. Like, that is what, unfortunately, people go into house flipping thinking it's easy because they see it on HGTV and it's a 30-minute show and they like, "Yup, I can do that." No, it don't. It don't work that way. Um, um, and it doesn't help that y'all are on camera talking about how bad of a neighborhood it is, and then Karen talking about somebody rolled up on her and offered to sell her some weed when she got out the car. See, that's just not the kind of stuff you probably tell people when you're trying to sell your house. But okay, I'm just saying. The house probably sold by now because this took place in winter. The house is probably gone. Robyn got this bad jacket on. That blazer Robyn has on, that thing is gorgeous. I love it. I love a blazer. And I like that. I love that blazer. That blazer is beautiful. Anyway, the house looks good. Okay, Robyn, you did that. The house looks good. I hope you and your mom sold it for a profit, or at least broke even. But I think you got a profit off of that because you got it for so dirt cheap. Even though you went over your budget, I think you'll get your money back. Everybody shows up, right? The gang's all here. Now, Giselle gets there, and Monique comes up to Giselle to give her a hug. Honey, the one thing Robyn asked Giselle not to do, Giselle did. The first thing out of Giselle's mouth, "Oh, I'm surprised you want to come and give me a hug." And Monique was like, "What?" I mean, since I don't like you and all, she said, "This the third year, Monique. This the third year. You would think that you would get tired of hating on me or whatever." And Monique was like, "You would think you would get tired of making a scene and being dramatic." And Monique was like, "Child, I need to go sit down." Robyn is sitting there. She is pissed. Now, let me say this to you. Robyn did the best thing she could do in that moment. Because let's be real, the cameras are there. It's an event. It's a scene. She can't put them out. Had this not been filmed for the show, her best move would have been to ask everybody to leave, except for the people who were there, except for the business people, the real estate people, the people who were coming through to maybe look at buying that house. Everybody else, y'all got to go. But because it is for the show and it is a scene, she did the best thing she could do. She asked them, "Y'all go over here in the living room area. I'm gonna keep the business people in the kitchen area, and I'm gonna do my best to work both sides of this room so that it doesn't become an issue." Right? The buyer shows up. He looks around and leaves. Now, do I think the buyer left because there was drama going on in the living room? Probably not. If he's gonna buy the house, he's gonna buy the house. If he's interested, he's interested. However, I'm sure it didn't help. I'm sure it didn't help. And then he left without really saying anything or committing to anything. So of course that pissed Robyn off. Now, for the first time, I think in probably Real Housewives of Potomac history, I think we actually see Robyn mad at Giselle for something. Now, the sad thing is, it's because it's happening to her. Because had that been anybody else's open house, she probably wouldn't have had that same reaction. But she's pissed because she's like, Giselle, you walk in the door on 10. You walk in the door starting drama. Like the one thing I asked you not to do, you walk in the door doing. And this is my business. Like you costing me money at this point. I'm like, oh. So it's in your backyard and it's a problem. But when Giselle cuts up anywhere else, then it ain't no issue. So they in the other room and Giselle starts talking about, well, you told Ashley that me and Robyn don't like you. Monique was like, that is not what I said. What I said was that y'all don't seem to understand that. I forgot how she worded it, but basically she was saying y'all just don't seem to understand that my life ain't perfect. And when I say I have problems, it's like it's blown off because financially I'm good. That doesn't mean that I don't have issues. That doesn't mean I don't have problems. She's like, I never said y'all didn't like me. So Karen is sitting there like, Lord, these churn. That's how she's sitting there. She's like, these churn. So then they get to talking about Candace and something with Candace. Because, of course, at that moment, who comes walking in the door is Candace. So they got going on the text messages. And let me tell you one thing I love about Miss Monique. I may not always agree with Miss Monique. I may not always like how Miss Monique moves. But one thing I love about Miss Monique is she stands in her shit. They said, well, what about you showing these text? I heard that you showed actually the text messages between the two of us. I certainly did because the narrative was being spun that everybody was talking shit about her and Michael. And I was just letting her know, I was letting her see my conversation and how I was moving. It just happened to be a conversation with you. But yeah, I did. So then Candace was just like, well, I don't understand why you would tell, why you would show her the text messages. Like, I mean, that just lets me know what kind of person you are. I mean, I don't understand because you and Ashley, you don't even like Ashley. And let me say this, and this is the one thing that, again, I love about Monique because she's been saying this since New Orleans, right? She has been saying the same thing since New Orleans. She said, look, here's the deal. Last year, me and Ashley had a horrible situation. I was pissed off. I didn't appreciate how she was moving. I didn't appreciate how she carried it. But when I made a decision to forgive her, I can't keep throwing what happened in the past. If we are really truly trying to be friends and move forward, then I can't keep throwing it in her face that this happened, that happened, and that happened. Like I cannot keep doing that because then that means that the apology wasn't sincere. I mean that me accepting her apology wasn't sincere. And that's valid. And she's been saying that since New Orleans. This isn't something new because Candace, see, Candace, you can't, that's why I say you're gonna turn it to your mama, because you can't let shit go. The minute that the apology was made, if you accept somebody's apology, then it's not fair to keep throwing. It's like if a man cheats or a woman cheats on you and you accept their apology and you agree to take them back, you can't keep throwing that affair up every time y'all get into an argument. That's not fair. You accepted them, you accepted the apology, y'all need to move on. And that's what Monique is saying. So then Candace brought up, well, you won't even let her in your house. Now, Monique, you did kind of on that one, but you said that. You said she can't come in the house yet. You said she on probation. She can come over to your house. She can't come in the house. And after Michael want to be grabbing people's butts in your basement, you might not want to let them in the house again anyway. I'm just saying. That's just me. Moving on. So, of course, now Candace is like, well, that just make me question how you moving. And Karen tried to play, mama again. And, tried to say, look, could it just be a situation where Monique was just trying to? Is that when Karen intervened? Hold on, I don't want to put words in Karen's mouth. At one point, Karen intervened in this whole little debacle. I don't remember when it was. So I don't want to put words in Karen's mouth. But Karen did try to mediate a little bit. Because again, of course, Karen on the outside looking in on this whole mess. Because again, Karen has done a good job of sort of keeping herself on the sidelines. Now, me personally, I'm not as upset over this whole Monique showing text messages saying, as everybody else seems to be, even other reviewers and stuff like that seem to have a problem with it. In the context in which it was done, I really don't have that big of an issue with it. I don't feel like Monique was just running around going, here, look, look, look. But in the context of the conversation that she was having with Ashley in that moment, I don't really see a problem with it. Did she kind of throw Candace under the bus? I mean, yes, she did. She did. But I'm not as pissed off about it as everybody else seems to to be, I guess. Then the whole thing, Candace said something about, well, she didn't threaten you. And everybody was kind of like, what? You had a knife, you was waving a knife around, butter knife or not, you was waving, she talking about it was a spoon. They were like, no, no, it was a knife. Even Giselle was like, no, it was a knife. Like, I remember very clearly, you had a knife in your hand and you were waving it around. Now, Candace said, because I told you to get out of my damn house, get out of my house. Now, that was valid. You did tell her to get out your house, and she kept coming back. But let's be honest, you was waving that knife around before you put her out the first time. That was when y'all got in that first argument. You had that knife in your hand. That was before you put her out the house. But neither here nor there, y'all. That's kind of where we left off. We know we're gonna pick up next week. And dang, for episode, I didn't have a whole lot. I still talked for a long time, didn't I? Anyway, let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments, please.